2, 3, 4.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is Jewish Talk on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, streaming live on the college station and on TuneIn and the iHeartRadio. And, of course, you can find this program reposted each week on Spreaker.com. Don't forget, we can be seen right now on Facebook Live. I'm Rabbi Pearl. Welcome to everyone. And today we're talking about a very serious issue, of course, suicide. We're speaking about Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain. Let's take this to heart. You know, the world lost two good friends just days apart. At least that's how it felt. They were two individuals who impacted our culture and changed the way we dressed, entertained, and ate. After so many years in the public eye, they seemed to be like our friends, people we felt we knew. Now, on the surface, Kate Spade, a glamorous mom of 55, seemed, like she had it all. The fashion designer, she was stylish, she had built a global brand with a synonymous with high fashion for women around the world. She lived with her husband and daughter in an exclusive building in New York and was well known for her philanthropic work. With Kate Spade stamped on the beautiful handbags, dishes, clothes, and other items, Miss Spade seemed to be the epitome of having arrived, and balancing work, life, and style seemed effortlessly. Except, of course, her beguiling image told us very little about what Miss Spade was actually feeling. She had struggled with depression for years, and in recent weeks, she had suffered extreme pain. Apparently, the couple was planning to divorce. Sometime on the night of Monday, June 4th, or Tuesday, June 5th, Miss Spade hanged herself in her Park Avenue apartment. She was alone and was found with her housekeeper, came in the morning to work, and there the housekeeper found her. Well, as we all know, just 3 days later, another cultural icon, the celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain, also succumbed to intense depression and suicide. The 61-year-old had made his mark with widely successful cookbooks, and for the past 5 years, with his popular show, Parts Unknown on CNN. So, Mr. Bourdain's recipes, I must obviously add that I wasn't a big fan of the recipes, keeping kosher. Nevertheless, he was able to combine exotic tastes and preparation methods with all kinds of ingredients and sensibilities, and he helped bring new dishes and meals to a wider audience. I wish he helped us put together a better cholent. So the vibrant, adventurous, and fearless chef was loved by many. Now, I just wanted to share with you that he was the son of a Jewish mother. Mr. Bourdain was born in New York and grew up in New Jersey and struggled with substance abuse as a young man. His two marriages fell apart, and Bourdain blamed his hectic travel schedule in part for his inability to maintain a relationship. He also suffered from depression. In one memorable 2016 TV episode, you may remember, Mr. Bourdain told a psychotherapist in Argentina that even seemingly minor setbacks could set him on a spiral of depression that could last for days. That's in his own words. I want to say special welcome to Mona Friedman from East Meadow, to Craig Sturm, and many who are joining us and letting us know that they're on Facebook Live, as well as everybody listening on the radio. And we're talking about a very serious issue of suicide, especially with the recent two famous people. We all know that on an intellectual level, that we cannot judge people by appearances, that a rich and famous fashion designer can be profoundly depressed, and this adventurous globetrotter and chef could see no point in living. Yet the suicides of two famous and well-liked individuals gives us a pause and reminds us just how little we know of other people's pain and challenges. 2,000 years ago, the Jewish sage Hillel warned, "Do not judge your fellow until you've reached his place." We have to approach others with sensitivity and care, never assuming we know what they're feeling. Too often, the face we put on in public masks what we're truly feeling, preventing us from connecting with others and sometimes stopping us from recognizing or helping to alleviate another's pain. I want to say thank you for everybody, Zev, Nathan who's watching, and many others who are commenting on this very serious issue today. Let me share with you, back in 2018, June 7th, if I'm not mistaken, the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention released startling new statistics showing that suicide is a growing public health crisis. Between 1999 and 2016, suicide rates in the U.S. increased in every state except one, and rose across age, gender, race, and ethnicities. Nearly 45,000 people took their lives in the U.S. in 2016, twice the number of homicides. Overall, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. Among young people ages 15 to 34, it is, my friend, the second leading cause of death. So although researchers estimate that 90% of victims of suicide suffer from underlying mental health condition, over half of the Americans who commit suicide are not in treatment for mental health issues. This gap makes it more critical than ever to try to connect with others who might be in pain and help steer people towards mental health resources. Some Jewish organizations are helping lead the way to destigmatize mental health problems and aid people in receiving the support they need. I share with you one. It's called No Shame on You. It's founded by Miriam Ament, who decided to go public with her own history of severe depression. Recalling that a friend once told her she didn't want to talk with Miriam until she was happy again. Miriam Ament has dedicated her life to telling her story and breaking down stigmas about talking about mental illness. There's another one called Refuas HaNefesh, which translates to healing of the soul in Hebrew, provides resources and information in the Jewish community, spreading the word that mental illness affects over 20% of the population, and working to get help to those who need it. When mental health is more sunlight, more candor, more unashamed conversation about illness that affects not only individuals, but their families as well. This is a quote from actress Glenn Close, who has worked with the organization to raise the awareness. So you see, my friends, these and other resources can help us do our part in connecting with and supporting those in our midst who are experiencing pain and sickness. But we also must do our part. The recent death of celebrities who battling depression reminds us all to try and look beneath the surface, to ask how people are feeling and to really listen to their response. We all have a responsibility to get to know how those around us are feeling, to experience their concerns and pain alongside with them, and when necessary, to work to help connect others with the mental health resources they need. So let me, before I go on, just share with you again the resources of many. There's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.org. Their telephone number is 1-800-273-8254. And the two Jewish organizations that I'm aware of, No Shame on You, that's NoShameOnYou.org, and Refuas HaNefesh, REFUATHANEFESH.org. Again, 2 and 3 of many, many worthy organizations who are very, very helpful in this area. Good morning to Sandy Gerson, to Mordechai Siv. Mordechai, are you on Svas? That's in Israel. And formerly from Syosset, Long Island. And we're discussing this morning the issue of suicide that is so prevalent and sad. And I look forward to responding to all the comments that are coming up on Facebook Live. You know, I must kind of go on in the following manner for us to appreciate the sanctity of life and to give you a Jewish perspective. Not too long ago, I guess, in these days, killing oneself in California may become a little more harder, at least if one wishes to enlist a doctor's help. See, in 2015, California became the 5th state in the nation to legalize physician-assisted suicide, allowing terminally ill patients to request lethal medications from their doctors. So just recently I read a Riverside County judge overturned the state law what was called the End of Life Option Act because it was illegally passed during a special session dedicated to health issues. The court gave the state attorney out there 5 days to appeal an appeal to keep the law in place. So from a strictly personal autonomy perspective, it is hard to argue that a person shouldn't have the right to kill himself. We're all allowed to make many choices about the directions of our lives, and so if someone wishes to set himself on the path of literally dead end, what business is it of anyone else? And if another person, be she a carpenter or a doctor, can be of help, why not? This, of course, troubles me terribly. What about the Hippocratic Oath? But we'll leave that for another time. So a fundamental of Jewish thought is that human life, no matter how compromised, is invaluable. Assisted suicide is legal in at least 10 countries. In the Netherlands, 3,136 people were provided a lethal cocktail in 2010 alone. And each year since 2005, palliative sedation has brought 15,000 people a year to an unnatural deaths, according to the Royal Dutch Medical Association. But you see, legalized assisted suicide opens a Pandora's box of horribles. There are the pressures patients might feel from doctors or family members to choose to end their lives. The fact that healthcare delivery systems tend to discriminate against the poor, handicapped, and elderly. Exploitations of the physically vulnerable of several severely ill people. And of course, the risk of misdiagnosis. It's a problem. You see, suicide is not a reversible decision. So at least in the eyes of Jewish tradition, it is one that one should not be contemplated. Because a fundamental of Jewish thought is that human life, no matter how compromised, is really invaluable. When I think about suicide, I'm reminded of a saga of a young man who many years ago in a swimming accident became a quadriplegic. Then suddenly, this handicapped athlete said that he had considered his condition a fate more devastating than death. Hampered not only from the swimming, but from so much of he couldn't even scratch on his own. Well, he decided to kill himself. But he couldn't do it without help. And no one would help him. Frustrated by his inability to check out, he was forced, so to speak, to check inward, to a world of thought and ideas. Pushed from a universe of action, he entered one of mind. If his life is indeed now worthless, he reflected, then was swimming and scratching literal and figurative itches really all that defined its meaning? Is that what it was all about? Was his life all about just swimming and scratching himself? The question led him to the realization that a truly meaningful life is independent of a physically active one. He came to the conclusion that the ability to think, to study, to pray, to resolve, to regret, to love, to forgive were the most truly valuable things in life. And not one of them requires good health or physical movement. Later, he shared that his paralysis had in a way been a gift. Without it, he would have remained a mere swimmer. No one likes to contemplate his or final moments in this world. But it's unlikely that any of us will picture ourselves focused, just life is just about ski slopes, swimming, and regattas. What will matter as we prepare to take our leave will be the things considerably less physical. I just want to share with you, there's a gentleman, a famed professor of bioethics at Princeton University, Peter Singer, the university's Center for Human Values, who has proposed the termination, even without, of what he calls miserable people, miserable beings, people whose lives he deems devoid of pleasure. He was asked by the New York Times a few years back what idea, value, or institution the world takes for granted today he thinks, listen to this, may disappear in the next few decades. You know what his response was? Sadly, I don't know if I even should share this with you, but sadly, what do you think he came up with? The traditional view of the sanctity of life, of human life. Can you imagine? Unfortunately, this disappearing act seems to have begun. Following a suicide, everyone is looking for a reason an excuse. Everybody wants to find something or someone to blame. Because when he was